Hello again, MMA True Believers. I am Jason BURGOS for Sherdog.com, and my guest today made history at UFC on ESPN 9. Not only did he win his third in a row, not only did he win by TKO, but this individual became only the 10th person to ever win a fight by leg kicks in UFC history. And that man is El Guapo, aka Chris Gutierrez. Mr. Guapo, sir. Congratulations on the win, and thanks for the time today.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Now, before we get into the fight itself, I wanted to go back to that like aha moment in your career when you realized low kicks would be such a key element in your attack for years to come, because you had already developed a reputation for using them effectively before this fight. And if anyone wasn't aware before that, they know now to prepare for calf pain when fighting you. So how far back does your working of that technique go? And what was that, like, that light bulb moment that made you realize, yes, this is going to be a game changer for leaping my career forward?
I have a soccer background, and so I always knew, like, I had strong legs, and just fighting wrestlers is just like they're always grabbing your legs and punching you. It's like, what can you do? Or not even a wrestler, anybody in general. It's just like, what can you do to land, optimize maximum as far as how can you get 100% of that kick effective without getting any repercussions back?
Yeah.
Or what's the lowest amount of doing that? It's like, man, kicking below the knee. So just started doing that, from like my amateur days. And honestly, like before I got signed to the UFC, I've had like 3 or 4 other stoppages with leg kicks. And then in the promotion, obviously, that's my first one.
Is there a point in this fight that happened, or maybe in any fight, where the low kicks become really effective, that you see the courage slowly dwindle from an opponent? Is there a change in, like, their eyes or lowering of their shoulders, or is it just simply they're changing their stance that lets you know, yeah, this guy's focus has been completely shattered because now he's so worried about you kicking him in the leg? And how does that feel? I'm sure it's got to be pretty empowering.
I mean, it's a little bit of what you said, a little mixture of everything. Their demeanor, their confidence, their structure, the way they move. Um, I like to think I approach the game a little different than a lot of people. I move different. I attack different. I have little off beats that I do that are different, and so it just allows me to be a complete different fighter than the normal, you know. And yeah, man, it's been fun. It's yeah, like I said, man, it's a little bit of everything what you said. It's all that combined.
Stuff like this always fascinates me, and I want to, to inform the audience more on what goes through a fighter's head in unique instances like this, and this technique in particular I'm a big fan of. I wrote about it a few years ago because I love low kicks. They're so effective. I've also talked to a guy like Douglas Seema about it, who's another guy who's excellent at low kicks. Would you say that once you land a few good ones and they become fully aware of it, does it make your job that much easier? Does landing head strikes get easier? Do they start seeing ghosts, and fainting the kick opens up a variety of strikes that, different strikes that might not have been available and easy and harder to do to land? And because they're so worried about the kicks, does it open up the full arsenal once a couple of those really land well?
I mean, that depends on the type of fighter you are. You can't um, land the same thing over and over without mixing it up. If you land a good shot and you land it the same way the next 10 times, most likely you're going to get countered. But it's how you approach it and how you mix it up to land that strike. And I think that's what I do pretty good. Is I hurt people, right? And instead of just going to it, I go to it, but I go to it very differently. I don't just jump on it and just keep going, because um, you're susceptible to getting countered, to getting caught, to get taken down. So there's little things that I do differently that allow me to continue to do what's considered the same thing, but it's really not the same thing.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to ask this too, and maybe maybe this is how people differ, or maybe it's just a different kind of verbiage for it. Because going back to, like, to Lima, when I talked to him about it, he said timing was so important because sooner or later, now that everybody knows you're so great at this, they're gonna start trying to prepare for it. They're gonna try to stop it and defend it and stuff like that. So how important is timing? You know, when do you know, is timing your thing? Is there certain moments where certain tells that they have where, okay, this is green light, I can throw it now, you know, or is it instinctive, or is it for you, like you said, it's kind of just mixing it up and just kind of keeping them off balance?
No, timing is everything, of course. I mean, that's true. Um, my opponent, if I want to punch my opponent in the mouth, he's not going to let me punch him. You know,
Yeah.
I have to set him up, get his feet planted, or have him run into it. You know, so timing is everything, and but timing and how you set him up are two different things. But it's ultimately it goes together. It goes hand in
Mm.
hand. Um, people know about leg kicks. It's not like leg kicks are new. It's not like I just
Yeah.
created this new attack. It's just been around forever. I like Mike Tyson's really good at, a hook. I perfected my, and I'm still. I don't think I'm perfect at it. I know I still have a lot to work on, but everybody has little techniques that they're good at and what they love, and I mean, low kick is one of them.
And that's scary to think, looking at his calf, that you feel you're not perfected at it yet. I fear for fighters when you do get perfected, but everyone will remember the low kicks from this fight. But the bigger, longer lasting issue was you actually broke this man's orbital bone too. During the fight, did you have a sense something was definitely wrong with his eye? And if you did, is there a point where you almost sort of feel sorry? This guy's got the eye, this guy's got the leg. Like, can you not have compassion in those kind of moments?
I mean, you know, I'm a person first and foremost. I have a heart,
Yeah.
and so during the fight, I always say a prayer. Actually, before I go in the fight, I say a prayer for me and my opponent.
Hmm.
I basically pray that we both walk out the same way we walked in. And you know, to answer your question, it's do I have sympathy after the fight? I do, but during the fight, I can't.
Yeah.
I guess I cannot allow myself to, because
Yeah.
if it was the other way around, he would be blasting me. Ultimately, that's what we're in there to do. We both signed an agreement to hurt each other. It's just That's the nature of the beast. It is what it is. Um, but after it's all said and done, he's a human just like I am. We both are trying to provide. We both are trying to climb that ladder. I just I want it more, in a sense, in certain things that I want to do in life, and things that I have to do. After the fight's another thing. I check. I do this no matter what. I check on my opponents. I checked on Vince, and I was told that, of course, his leg was really chewed up, but his orbital was kind of like fractured.
Yeah.
I do. I feel bad in a way. Um, I pray for a speedy recovery. Um, and that's just the type of person I am. In the fight, I don't feel sorry, because I have to do that. I have to separate
Yeah.
the emotional Chris away from that for those 15, 25 minutes.
Mm.
After the fight, I break down and I'm like, man, like, I hope he's okay.
Yeah.
I really I hope my opponents feel the same to me when I lose. I've I've never been reached out to by my opponents when I've lost. Hey, are you okay? But it is what it is. That's the type of person I am. So that's yeah.
Without a doubt, you have designs, on doing so much more in your career, especially in the UFC. But at least, you put yourself in the UFC record books forever with being only the 10th person that's ever done this in a fight. Does that resonate for you? And is it a big deal right now? Or is, I'm planning a lot of bigger things to come. I want to win championships. And it's kind of that thing I'll love talking about to the grandkids 10, 15 years from now. But right now, not as important to me.
No, 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 no. I've learned to smaller roses as I go. That's one thing this injury has really taught me, is to take advantage and just live life in the moment.
Mm.
It's amazing, man. How many fights? My coach talked to me about this. Um, I'm the 10th person in the UFC, right? I say, am I the 10th person in all, the 10th person in the UFC?
UFC. They just said UFC.
Okay, So the 10th person in the UFC to finish leg kicks. Well, we are on what fight card? How many fights from day one till present?
Yep.
And to be the 10th one, man, that's amazing. You know, I can. It's almost surreal, you know. And so I live in the moment. It's amazing, you know. Not only 4 fights ago, I became the first Guatemalan fighter to ever step foot in the octagon. I made history, you know, in my mom's country, but then also made history with being the 10th person to finish, you know, leg kicks behind someone like Edson Barbosa, who's a tremendous kicker, you know. So to be up there in that ranking, in that list, man, it's you know, it's almost like it's like you're dreaming in a way.
In the post fight, you explained, you know, the reason for why you called out Andre Ewell, you know, well, to fight with him, because he had the split decision win over your teammate Jonathan Martinez in his last fight. Plus, you just like the matchup too. You mentioned also. I mean, I think the matchup makes sense in that Andre is a guy who is a name fighter that isn't in the top 15 of the division. What makes that fight more intriguing? Is it the teammate revenge, or what you gain by beating someone with some name value like an Andre Ewell?
Of course, both. I would lie if I said, "Hey, I'm not." You know, I don't want to get that win back for my teammate, for you know, for our team. I would lie if I said that wasn't true. But I also lie if I said I didn't want his name on my resume. But not only him, you know, there's another person I call out, Miles Johns too. That's just somebody I came up on the local scene with, and we always stared at each other through these cages. And we never got, you know, through the fence. We never actually got the dance. And so, yeah. But with Andre, man, it's like, I don't know. People ask me, "Oh, do you hate the guy?" I don't know anything about the guy. I know he's going through a similar situation that I am with my son. So, you know, we're two fathers trying to battle the system that's keeping us away from our kids. You know, and I have respect for him in that aspect, as far as him actually trying to be a father in his son's life, and me trying to be a father in my son's life. That's the only thing I feel that we have in common, and that's it. Like, there's no bad blood. I don't dislike the guy or nothing like that. I just, hey, it's a name I want on a resume, and it's a win that I want to get back. And you know, as a martial artist, you want to test yourself, you know. So
true.
Hey.
You normally compete at bantamweight, but circumstances led to this fight being at featherweight. Obviously, you looked pretty amazing at featherweight. Not to say you didn't look great at bantamweight, but you made history at featherweight. Did you enjoy having to not, you know, cut as much weight? And did the experience you make you go, I mean, featherweight, you know, maybe, or, you know, pure bantamweight, not leaving that anytime soon?
No, I'm not leaving bantamweight anytime soon. I can make the weight. The fight I took on 10 days notice.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had to cut, you know, 10 to 15 pounds versus 20 to 25, you know, or, you know, 15 to 20 pounds. It's, it makes a, you know, short span, it makes a difference. So, excuse me. Sorry, man. It just worked out. It just worked out perfect. It was perfect timing. Me and my teammate Brandon Royval, we stayed disciplined. We stayed training with each other, and honestly, we stayed prepared. So when the opportunity came knocking, we were one of the ones that said, "Oh, I'm not ready. I'm taking this quarantine time to just get fat or just mope about it." No, I literally was like, "Man, like, we're gonna get an opportunity. We got to be ready."
Speaking of Brandon Royval, like that moment, and I'm actually going to talk to him in like 10 minutes too. That moment where he is getting interviewed by Daniel Cormier, like the emotion and like just the disappointment that he's not going to get the bonus and that he's got to go to work tomorrow. Like, I felt that, like, it touched me as a person who's got multiple jobs. Like, what was that moment like for you? You competed before him, watching it, and then also finding out when he gets the bonus. I've heard so many fighters say they'll be happier for other people's successes than their own sometimes. Was that a moment like that for you? You just like overjoyed for this guy that he got what he was so hoping for?
Of course, man. Like, you know, I know Brandon on a little deeper level than like what most people know him on the internet, or, you know, what they hear. So, you know, the guy has a messed up sleep schedule because he works overnight. And so, man, he literally like gets off at like 7, 8 in the morning, gets and goes straight to practice at 10 a.m.
Wow.
and then goes home and sleeps for like 2 or 3 hours because his sleep schedule's all messed up.
Hmm.
Then goes to train in the afternoon and does his strength training. So when it's all said and done, man, his like sleep schedule's like 2 to 4 hours in a day, and then he got to
Wow.
go redo it again. So to be able to get that bonus and to kind of change his life in a way, it was nice. It was very good and very humbling to see it happen to someone who's very deserving of like him.
So then, would you say that he not only necessarily wanted the bonus for the money, he wanted the bonus so he can go to damn sleep?
Yeah, I mean that's really what it was. It's like, man, like let this kid have a normal sleep. Man, hey, if he gets a normal sleep schedule, he's gonna be a crazy person.
Yeah.
It's gonna be scary.